Hi everyone. Today I'm going to read a story called Sydney's Star, illustrated by Peter H. Reynolds. Sydney's Star. Sydney loved to build things. She made brilliant birdhouses, charming cheesecakes, and all sorts of wonderful inventions. Sydney was inspired by the world around her. One night, a bright star caught her attention. It sparkled gold and silver. Sydney wished she could just reach out and touch it, but she knew it was millions of miles away. A star! That's it! I will build a remote control star. She made lots of sketches and miniature models. When her plans were done, she went to work. She tested and she fine-tuned, fiddled and tweaked until at last she was done. Standing back, Sydney pressed the remote control. The star flew up. It glowed and spun and sparkled in the twilight sky. Sydney decided to take her star to the student science fair. She hoped she'd win. The lucky winner would receive a blue ribbon and a beautiful telescope. Sydney waited to share her creation. One boy showed a clock that was powered by a potato. The crowd cheered, and Sydney was impressed too. A girl wowed the crowd with the bubble-making bicycle. The crowd oohed and awed, and so did Sydney. Finally, it was Sydney's turn. She took a deep breath and pushed her wagon onto the center stage. The wheels squeaked loudly as the crowd slowly went silent. She stood tall and explained her invention and what it could do. Everyone in the crowd held their breath as Sydney pressed go. The star rose up, it spun and bounced. It flashed colors. It beamed like a lighthouse. Everyone cheered. Sydney smiled ear to ear and bowed her best bow. Then, suddenly, the remote control made a rude burping sound, and the star started floating away. Sydney yelled for the star to come back, but it was no use. The crowd began to laugh and then slowly went quiet. Sydney turned 4 shades of red, and she sadly watched her star drift away. She left the student science fair having lost the contest and her star. She walked home along the beach. It was becoming foggy and dark. She walked faster. It started to rain. At the same time, somewhere out at sea, a boat struggled to find the shore and avoid the rocks. Captain Stilton was delighted to see the glow of a lighthouse in the distance. But was it a lighthouse? She rubbed her eyes and looked again. It was a star, a floating star, a flashing, floating mechanical star. Captain Stilton was amazed to see a star flashing a message in Morse code. The message said, "Picked up a distress signal and came to help." Back on the dock near her house, Sydney pondered in the rain. Where could my star be? As she gazed out into the misty ocean, she saw a glow, a flashing. It grew bigger and clearer. Sydney couldn't believe her eyes. Floating near the shore was her star, and right behind it was a boat being safely guided to the dock. "Is that your star?" the captain asked when Sydney had finished jumping up and down with joy. "Yes, I made it," she squealed. Sydney and the captain chatted back and forth as Sydney led the way to her family's house. Her star followed her. Sydney's family invited the captain to stay for dinner. Afterward, the captain thanked Sydney's parents. Then she turned to Sydney and said, "I'll be in touch." It had been an amazing day. Sydney was sure of that. So before she went to bed, she leaned out her window and looked up. And Sydney's star signaled a colorful, bright, starry good night. The next morning in the newspaper, it said, "Young inventor and her star help famous scientist. Captain Stella Stilton awards Sydney and her star with the ship's telescope." The end. And I chose this book because I know how much you boys and girls love to build and create. So have fun today. Talk to you later.